Tom Hanks thought his SNL skit mocking MAGA was just comedy until Karoline Leavitt called him out and turned the internet against him. It started as just another night on live television. A Saturday Night Live, the long-running comedy institution known for its political jabs, celebrity impersonations, and outrageous satire, but on this particular evening in early February 2025, no one expected Tom Hanks to be the one lighting the match that would set off a political firestorm. The audience inside Studio 8H in Rockefeller Center was electric. A list stars had come and gone, sketches had ranged from absurd to mildly offensive, and then the camera panned to Hanks. At first it seemed like a harmless surprise. The man who had played Forrest Gump, Captain Phillips, and Mr. Rogers was about to grace the stage with his charm and comedic timing, but the moment he opened his mouth, the atmosphere shifted. Dressed in a red baseball cap, oversized aviator sunglasses, and a windbreaker plastered with the words "Real America First," Hanks launched into a full-blown parody of a MAGA rally. The crowd inside the studio chuckled, some nervously, some wholeheartedly, but across the country the reaction was far from unanimous. His exaggerated Southern accent, the way he shuffled around the stage mimicking a passionate but clueless supporter, and the over-the-top rhetoric about keeping Hollywood elitists in check were all unmistakably aimed at Trump supporters. The writers had crafted a script that played into every stereotype: over-the-top patriotism, conspiracy-laden rants, and exaggerated anger toward woke culture. At one point, Hanks leaned into the camera, wagged his finger, and declared, "Y'all ever notice how every time we lose an election it's rigged, but every time we win it's the will of the people? Funny how that works, huh?" The studio audience roared with laughter. Online, not so much. As the skit continued, Hanks doubled down. He parroted calls to take back America, made exaggerated hand gestures reminiscent of Trump, and even poked fun at conservative commentators pretending to hold a podcast microphone while yelling about the deep state cabal. By the time the camera faded to black, the damage was done. For many in Hollywood and left-leaning circles, it was just another comedic bit, no different from the dozens that had aired on SNL over the years. But within minutes of the skit ending, social media erupted. Some praised it as brilliant satire, a much-needed roast of a political movement that had dominated headlines for years. Others saw it as outright mockery, tone-deaf, dismissive, and condescending. And then there was Karoline Leavitt, a rising star in conservative media and a former congressional candidate from New Hampshire. Leavitt wasted no time responding. Within minutes she fired off a tweet. Hanks just mocked millions of hard-working, patriotic Americans on national television. Hollywood is so out of touch it's actually embarrassing. The post blew up instantly, tens of thousands of likes, retweets, and replies poured in, ranging from support to heated arguments. Some called her reaction overblown. Others agreed wholeheartedly, but one thing was clear: this wasn't going to fade away overnight. Leavitt doubled down in a follow-up tweet: "The elites in Hollywood think they can ridicule and belittle us, and we'll just sit back and take it. This isn't comedy, it's a direct attack." Her words spread like wildfire. Conservative news outlets picked up the story within the hour, fueling a narrative that Hollywood was openly mocking a large portion of the country. By the next morning, the incident was front-page news and the cultural battle lines were drawn. But this was only the beginning. As the sun rose the next morning, the internet was already ablaze. Karoline Leavitt's tweets had turned into a rallying cry, and conservative influencers, news outlets, and politicians wasted no time piling on the hashtag #DBoycott Hanks began trending before lunchtime, fueled by a mix of outrage, political opportunism, and genuine disappointment on Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. The reactions were fierce. Some MAGA supporters posted videos of themselves tossing out their DVDs of Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan, and calling Hanks a Hollywood elitist who's finally shown his true colors. Others mocked his past roles, joking that maybe he should get stranded on an island again and stay there this time. Leavitt herself seized the momentum. She appeared on a morning Fox News segment where she didn't hold back. "This isn't just about a joke. This is about the constant, never-ending disrespect from Hollywood. They think they're better than us. They think our values, our way of life, are something to be laughed at. Well, I have news for Tom Hanks. We're not laughing." The clip went viral, shared by high-profile conservatives like Donald Trump Jr., Tucker Carlson, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Even Elon Musk chimed in, replying to one of Leavitt's tweets with a simple "Hollywood is a joke." But it wasn't just conservatives who had strong feelings about this. Liberals and Hollywood elites defended Hanks, arguing that satire had always been a part of comedy, especially on SNL. Late-night hosts mocked the backlash, calling it the most predictable outrage cycle in modern history. Trevor Noah, on his podcast, quipped that Republicans are mad because someone on TV made fun of them. Isn't that what they do every day with Hunter Biden? The debate quickly spiraled into a full-fledged culture war, splitting social media into two warring factions. On one side, conservatives saw this as yet another example of Hollywood's contempt for middle America. On the other, liberals viewed it as a case of manufactured outrage, arguing that the right wing had no problem dishing out jokes but couldn't take them. As the controversy spread, more celebrities weighed in, adding fuel to the already raging fire. Robert De Niro, a longtime critic of Trump and his supporters, threw his support behind Hanks, calling the backlash laughable. In an interview, he said people are mad because they got made fun of. Please, the entire Trump movement is based on making fun of people they don't like. Hypocrisy at its finest. Meanwhile, conservative actors like James Woods and Jon Voight took the opposite stance, accusing Hanks of selling out and pandering to the liberal elite. I used to respect Tom Hanks, Woods tweeted, but I guess even America's good guy has to fall in line with the woke mob. Even musicians got involved. Kid Rock posted a video smashing a DVD of Castaway with a sledgehammer, declaring, "If you hate us so much, why don't you just stay in your Malibu mansion and shut up?" It wasn't long before calls for a boycott became a serious discussion. By the end of the week, Tom Hanks's name was plastered across every major news outlet in the country. Cable news networks dissected the controversy from every angle, while online forums and Facebook groups debated whether or not he had crossed a line. Companies that had long partnered with Hanks, like FedEx and Apple TV+, were suddenly being bombarded with demands to cut ties with him. Rumors even began circulating that an upcoming biopic he was set to star in had been quietly put on hold as executives weighed the PR risks. Outrage was spreading far beyond social media, and now the fallout was starting to affect Hanks's career in ways he never expected. But the media wasn't done yet. Story was about to take an even bigger turn. The time the weekend rolled around, the controversy surrounding Tom Hanks had become impossible to ignore. Every major news outlet was dissecting the skit, the backlash, and the deeper implications of Hollywood's relationship with conservative America. Ran a segment titled "Has Comedy Gone Too Far?" The Tom Hanks backlash is explained over on Fox News. Kerr Carlson devoted an entire monologue to what he called the latest attack on patriotic Americans by the out-of-touch elites. Tom Hanks is a national treasure. Carlson began, "He played Captain John Miller in Saving Private Ryan, for God's sake, and now he's up there on SNL mocking the very people who make this country great. Why? Because they dare to think differently than he does." Meanwhile, the New York Times published an opinion piece defending Hanks, arguing that political satire had always been a part of American culture. The author pointed out that past SNL sketches had mocked Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and even Joe Biden, so why was it suddenly off-limits to poke fun at MAGA? But that argument didn't hold weight with the conservative base. In their eyes, this wasn't about a joke, it was about a pattern. Right-wing commentators weren't just reacting, they were strategically weaponizing the controversy, turning it into a referendum on Hollywood's arrogance. On Newsmax, a panel discussion framed the issue as part of a wider war on conservative voices in entertainment. One guest even suggested that if a comedian had done a similar skit mocking Black Lives Matter or the LGBTQ+ movement, their career would be over before the show even ended. Podcasts followed suit. Ben Shapiro released a 330-minute breakdown of why this moment proved Hollywood had given up on even pretending to respect conservatives. "They don't see you as people," he said to his audience. "They see you as caricatures, and they expect you to just sit there and take it." It wasn't just talk. Republican lawmakers started weighing in. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis posted, "Hollywood thinks they can insult everyday Americans and face no consequences. It's time we stop funding their movies with our hard-earned dollars." Caught Hanks Senator Josh Hawley went a step further, calling for an end to tax incentives for film productions in red states. "Why are we subsidizing an industry that openly mocks half the country?" he asked during a speech for days. Hanks remained silent. The long-time Hollywood icon had never been a particularly controversial figure, which made the backlash even more shocking. But as calls for boycotts grew louder and media pressure intensified, he finally broke his silence in an exclusive interview with CBS's Gayle King, sitting in a quiet, dimly lit studio. Hanks looked weary but composed. "I never set out to offend anyone," he said. "The satire, it would joke. That's what SNL does." But King pushed back. "Do you understand why people were offended?" Hanks sighed, choosing his words carefully. "Get it? Really do, but if we reach a point where comedians can't poke fun at political figures without facing an all-out war, What does that say about us, about our ability to laugh at ourselves? His answer did little to calm the storm. Some saw it as a reasonable defense. Others just saw it as doubling down. By now the controversy had evolved beyond just to Hanks. It had turned into a culture battleground, a fight over whether Hollywood and conservative America could ever coexist. News segments, podcasts across every major news outlet in the country, Fest networks dissected the controversy from every angle. While online forums and Facebook groups debated whether or not he had crossed a line. Payne's partnered with Hanks, FedEx, and Apple T+, but suddenly were being bombarded with demands to cut him. Or's remorsculating that an upcoming biopic he was set to star in had been quietly put on hold as executives weighed the PR risks. Rage spreading far beyond social media, and now the fallout was starting to affect Hanks's career in ways he never expected. It isn't done yet, though. Theory was about to take an even bigger turn by the time the weekend around. The controversy surrounding Tom Hanks had become impossible to ignore. Every major news outlet was dissecting skits, TSE-based backlash, and the deeper implications of Hollywood's relationship with America. See a segment titled "Has Comedy Gone Too Far?" Backlash explained over on Fox News. Wilson devoted an entire monologue to what he called the latest attack on patriotic Americans by thought touchwood elites. Hanks' treasure. N. Beale's son, he played Captain John Miller in Saving Private Ryan for God's sake, and now he's up there on SNL mocking the very people who make this counter great. Why? Because they dare to think differently than he does. Meanwhile, the New York Times published an opinion piece defending Hanks' case, arguing that political satire had always been a part of America culture. The author pointed out that past SNL sketches had mocked Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and even Joe Biden, and so why was it sudden off limits to poke fun at MAGA? But that argument didn't hold weight with the conservative base. In their eyes, this wasn't about joke, coup. It was about pattern. Right-wing commentators weren't just reacting. They were strategically